Here. Oh, I see. We got it. We should have it. We should have it. All righty, everybody. Welcome indeed to the Dennis Prager Show, where we talk about everything in life, and you will find that to be true today, certainly. And I want to get immediately to my guest, who is a student at McGill University in Montreal, Anna Montrose, whose article I spoke about. She wrote a piece for the McGill Daily. First of all, hello to you, Anna.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well. Are you a little nervous?
Oh, no, not at all.
Oh, good. Because I know you're a little hesitant about coming on the show. And
it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, it is fine. I just wanted to relax you. I'm not here in any way to embarrass you or even win an argument with you. I am considerably older than you, and I'm not going to take somebody out of college to berate them. Okay, so please know that.
Well, that's good. I appreciate that.
Okay. Anna wrote an article for the McGill University, and as I said when I noted this, I think it's fair to say McGill is the most prestigious university in Canada. Is that fair to say?
I mean, you could have that opinion, sure. I mean, there are a lot of universities in Canada. I think McGill is very well respected.
Yeah, I think it's like it's your if Harvard is the most respected in the U.S., that doesn't mean it's the best. I'm just saying most respected. I think it's true about McGill. Anyway. Maybe the University of Toronto was a close second. It's anyway. Oh, by the way, where are you from? Are you from Montreal?
I grew up in Winnipeg. I've been going to school here for 4 years.
Oh, I've been to Winnipeg many times. Been on the CBC in Winnipeg, and I even know that Portage in Maine is regarded as perhaps the windiest or coldest corner in Winnipeg, if not Canada.
That could be true. That could be true.
So I want you to know I have a deep affection for Winnipeg. Anna wrote this piece for the McGill paper, and it began this way. It's hard to go through 4 years of a humanities BA, reading Foucault and Butler. I know who Foucault is. Who's Butler?
Judith Butler is a theorist who is, I think, currently at Berkeley. Mm-hmm. She's probably most famous for her arguments about the performance of gender and how I guess her main point is that gender roles and gender aspects of gender, like women wearing dresses or men wearing pants, are sort of aspects that are socially constructed, and that our day-to-day actions, the way that we sit or walk or talk, all of these things are sort of a performance of gender that is culturally based.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So, again, this is how Anna opens her article. It's hard to go through 4 years of a humanities BA reading Foucault, the French thinker, and Butler, just Judith Butler of Berkeley, and watching The L Word, L for lesbian. It's a well-known television show that I'm sure many of my listeners are aware of, and keep your rigid heterosexuality intact. I don't know when it happened exactly, but it seems I no longer have the easy certainty of pinning my sexual desire to one gender and never the other. Okay. Now, it's a fairly clear, you write well, by the way. So
thank you very much. I appreciate that.
And you're welcome. And it seems clear to me that it means that prior to attending university, you did have your rigid heterosexuality intact. Is that correct?
I think that's pretty fair to say. But I think that I think the way that you're reading that opening is a bit different than how I intended it, because I think that, I started university at the age of 18, having had, very few experiences in general. And now that I'm 22, I think the past 4 years have just been a time for development in general. And I think that, you might make I can see how you would make the argument that, going to university, reading these theorists, watching these television shows has, forced me into...
No, not forced something. You. Oh, no. You didn't write forced, and I don't assume forced. But, unless you didn't write clearly, in which case I have to take back my compliment, then it is clear that until university, you had intact, rigid heterosexuality, which you no longer have. That's pretty self-evident. Is it fair? Because
I think there
okay.
has been changes.
Right. Okay. Based on your readings, your experiences, the television show, and all the things that come with it. That's fair. I oddly enough, I read your email correspondence with my producer Alan, and you would be shocked to know that you and I largely agree.
Okay.
I also believe that the way in which people act out gender roles, if you will, and sexuality is very much induced by society.
Well, that's good to know.
Oh yes. Well, I don't know if it's good to know, but because I'll tell you where we differ in a moment. But you must understand though, because I want to go step by step here. If that means that you and I both believe that how people behave sexually, including which sex they will engage with sexually, is largely determined by society and not by nature.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Okay. That is exactly what I have been trying to explain in writing and in my radio show for about 15 years, because you realize there's a very interesting thing here, because gay activists say the opposite. They say that whether you act homosexually or not is fixed, and I don't believe it's fixed necessarily at all, and neither do you.
But I think that argument has a political purpose, which is to counter the argument that heterosexuality is fixed.
Fair, yes, fair enough. I agree with you. But you see, so we both think that they're not telling the truth for the sake of making a political argument.
But I think it can be effective, though, because, I mean, by saying it's fixed or not fixed, I think that's much more complicated than whether or not society determines it. Because, I mean, take the example of language. I mean, you could say that speaking English is culturally determined, right?
Yes.
But that doesn't mean that I can just start speaking Mandarin if I just decide to do it. I don't think that saying something.
No, but if you were dropped in a Mandarin-speaking society, whether you wanted to or not, you would end up speaking Mandarin. So society would very much determine what you spoke. Indeed, there's nothing else that does determine what language we speak. So if you think of sexuality as a language, and that's a fair and a good metaphor or analogy, that's exactly what happens in many cases sexually. See,
fair enough.
All right. So now you're wondering, well, then where do this guy and I differ? Then I'll tell you where. Since we both agree that largely whom we have sex with and sexual behavior is culturally determined, the only question is, would we like culture to determine it one way or the other, or not? I think yes, and you think not. That's where I think we differ, because I do have a heterosexual preference. Not because I'm heterosexual, but because my values tell me that male-female love is the ideal. You don't think it's the ideal. Is that fair?
No, I don't think. I think that it's one of many options.
Exactly. So all I want to point out to my many listeners is that what you are being taught in that regard is largely true. That it is that sexual behavior isn't fixed like gay liberation and its heterosexual sympathizers argue, but that society will indeed very much affect whether I make love to the same sex or the opposite sex.
But when they're saying it's fixed, I think that their main point is to say that I can't change this. I can't just start speaking Mandarin. I need you to accept me for who I am.
That's a separate. Yeah, that's
no. It's the same example, because that's what gay rights are all about. Is about accepting people who speak Mandarin. I mean, this analogy is getting ridiculous.
You're right. Wait. That's part of what it's about. But
I'm not arguing. I'm not arguing. Should speak Mandarin ever.
No, I didn't say.
Everyone to speak English.
When did I say that? Oh, yes, I would like that.
You said you would like that.
Yes, I would like that. That is correct.
That's unfortunate.
I know you do. You see, you don't know my show, but the motto of my show is I prefer clarity to agreement. I don't mind that we disagree. It is critical for everybody listening to understand, and I think for you and me as individuals, to know where we differ. So we'll continue in a moment, and I will also take calls. 1-8-PRAGER-776. I'm speaking to Anna Montrose, 22-year-old student at McGill University, who notes that prior to university, she was a rigid heterosexual, but now realizes that that was, I assume, a mistaken position, and there are many ways to lead one's sexual life. We will return on the Dennis Prager Show, 1-8-PRAGER-776. All righty, you're listening to the Dennis Prager Show. And, Sean, if you'll put up our guest here. Great, okay, terrific, because I don't see it here. Very good. All righty, my guest is Anna Montrose, and Anna is a 22-year-old student at McGill University in Montreal. We're discussing her article where she spoke about being a rigid heterosexual prior to going to university and studying what she studied and seeing the TV shows like L Word and so on. Let me review. We both agree that society plays a crucial role in determining our sexual behavior and whether we'll have sex with the same sex or the opposite sex. Is that fair?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Okay, so we both agree on that. So again, where we differ is whether society should teach its members, especially its young people forming their sexual identities, any preferred behavior or role.
But I think even that question is based on the assumption that you could teach it. I mean, you could also teach everyone to walk backwards all the time.
Yes, you could, exactly.
And
right.
If you thought that it was an important value for everyone to have and that corresponded to it, you could teach everyone to walk backwards.
That's correct. You could,
but
exactly.
That wouldn't be necessarily a good thing.
We both agree. Again, we both agree. So the question is, are there any good things to be taught with regard to sexual behavior?
Are there any good things?
Yes. You say that that's not necessarily a good thing to teach heterosexual behavior is the ideal, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any things, for example, should we teach people not to have sex with their siblings?
Well, I mean, I think that the incest taboo is pretty universal across basically all cultures.
But so what?
Of.
So what?
So what?
Yeah. Slavery was universal.
Slavery was universal.
Right. So the fact that something is universal doesn't make it right.
No, that's true. That's true. Should we teach people not to have sex with their siblings? I think that's pretty wise in general.
Why?
I mean, it makes sense.
Why?
Why does that make sense? I guess that's just a value that I have. I mean, I admit I do have values.
Mm-hmm.
So
why is your value that people who love their siblings and want to have sex with them shouldn't, but my value that people should make love to the opposite sex, that's a bad value? On what grounds do you make such value distinctions?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think that there's a very small minority of people who would consider having sex with their siblings.
That actually, historically, it was not true. It was extremely common in the ancient world. In ancient Egypt, for example, it was considered the thing to do in the noble in noble families.
Right. Well, maybe that's okay then. I
Okay.
mean, who am I to say that someone shouldn't have sex with their siblings?
Right. Well, you're consistent.
If they're both consenting adults, frankly, as long as they're not hurting anyone or hurting each other.
Right. Okay.
What? You've made me agree that incest is okay across consenting adults.
Okay. Well,
because,
Well, I grant you, and this is a compliment, that you, unlike almost every gay spokesman that I have debated on this, they have not acknowledged that to be logically consistent, one would have to have the position that you are now taking. You are logically consistent. They like their taboos, but they don't like my taboos. But you say if it's consenting, there are no taboos.
I really don't. I don't think the parallel is quite as strong as you would like it to be. I mean, I guess if you can guarantee that incest is not hurting anyone and it's not hurting the family or upsetting anyone or whatever.
Well, you can't guarantee that about any sex.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
I mean,
so there's no guarantee.
What if your mother-in-law is annoying? What can you do about that?
Well, no. Well, I'm talking just sex. You can never guarantee that sexual relations won't hurt somebody.
That's true.
Even heterosexual strangers. I mean, so that's you can't put that. That's not a factor. So let's go to polygamy. Do you think that if a man loves two women or a woman loves two men, they ought to be allowed to marry if it's entirely consensual and they're adults?
I think if everything is consensual, that's fine. But I think that you're kind of obscuring this larger issue by throwing out these extreme examples.
Extreme. Polygamy was the human norm. In fact, it was in the United States of America. Utah was banned from being a state until it banned polygamy. It was that common.
Yeah, that's true. It was common. But I think that I'm just not sure that I think your tactic here is to try to show that if we open the the gates of acceptability to gay people and lesbians and queer people.
No. You're not being fair. You yourself are acknowledging the issue is not whether or not we accept the homosexual. The issue is whether or not we teach that there is a preferred sexual behavior.
But I think teaching a preferred sexual behavior is the same as oppressing the one that you don't like.
Do you think that teaching...
I also don't think that just because, if someone was to have the value that, homosexuality is fine and heterosexuality is fine, but incest and polygamy aren't fine, I think that's a value that they can have as well. I think you're
fine then, but why can't I have mine? I'm a homophobe, but you're not a sibling phobe. You're not a polygamy phobe. That's not fair. Why don't you get called names for your bands? Or well, you don't have them anymore, but until this phone call, you did. I mean, I don't understand why my preference is disgusting and bigoted, but your preference is noble.
I do think your preference is disgusting and bigoted.
I know that, but I don't understand. But right, but why? The fact that I think that men and women ought to make love and not men and women and women, why is that disgusting? But your preference for non-sibling love, that's beautiful. Why are your values beautiful and mine ugly? I don't get it. Why aren't you the bigot?
Well, I think that's a huge question that neither of us can answer. I mean, why do people have different values?
Oh, I can. I know I have a value system. Anna, I have a value system.
And how do you know that your value system is right?
It is a leap of faith, and based on the historical
every
record.
Value system is a leap
yes,
of faith.
Every value system is a leap of faith.
So
that is exactly right. So again, I'm just clarifying. There has been a value system intact in Canada, in the United States, in the Western world, which is either Christian or Judeo-Christian, which has held that the ideal, if one can't meet the ideal, one can't meet the ideal. But the ideal is that we make a family, and the basic unit of the society is a family composed of a man and a woman who marry.
That's your value system.
That's
yes,
correct.
I understand that.
That's right. Okay. But why is your value system better than mine?
Why is yours better than mine?
Okay, fair enough. But I don't call you bigot and homophobe, excuse me, and all sorts of bad names, but you call me one for my value system.
Well, I think the difference is that some value systems seek to oppress people and,
Oh, okay. All right. We'll deal with that in a moment. Whether this is oppressive. Fair enough. We return in a moment. Dennis Prager and Anna Montrose. You are listening to The Dennis Prager Show. All right, everybody. Welcome back. My guest is Anna Montrose. She's a 22-year-old student in Montreal at McGill University, whose article in the McGill University paper has prompted the dialogue, where she wrote that until university and a whole host of cultural factors, she was her rigid heterosexuality was intact, but that is not the case any longer. And we're in agreement on a great many things, especially the biggest one, that society very much shapes how we will act sexually, including whom we will have sex with and which sex, which is the opposite of what most people are told by the gay rights activists and heterosexual sympathizers, that, in fact, sexuality is fixed. So you and I agree it's not fixed, and that society helps shape it tremendously. So you have a value system, and I have a value system. My value system is that society ought to do what it can without oppressing anybody, remember, without oppressing anybody, in saying that the preferred sexual bonding is a male-female. You think that that is wrong, correct?
I do, and I think it's oppressive, actually. So I don't really understand how you say that you think that that should be done without oppressing anyone. And when you said before that I said that I didn't think it was fixed, I mean, let's just be clear. I think that it's, though it is influenced by society, the argument that it's fixed is to make the argument that someone who has already, reached their adult years can't just, or even at any time in their life, they can't just decide.
But you did.
I think that in my experiences, growing up from 18 to 22, I think those are key formative years in terms of someone's sexuality, and I think that I feel very privileged that the experiences I have enabled me to accept what I believe to be an orientation that is already there, and that
you didn't know you were sexually attracted to women until you went to university. You lived 18 years and thought you were only sexually attracted to males.
That's true, but I mean, I also had never had a boyfriend either. I mean,
well, that's very no. Whether one has a boyfriend or girlfriend is very different from what one wants to have and where one's sexual fantasies lie.
Yeah, that's
okay. So
true.
Fine. So you see, I don't want you to try to square a circle here. We both do agree, and you can't have it both ways. You can't say it's fixed and society determines gender preferences.
I think you can have it both ways.
Okay.
Definitely.
Well, society determines or helps determine.
What about my language example? I mean,
you're right. So fine, but we both agree that whether or not you'll speak English or Mandarin is determined by society. Once you speak it, of course, it's a fixed speech. Of course.
Exactly.
All right. So we both agree. You and I speak English because our societies told us to.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fine. That's all I'm saying about sexual choices. Society has a deep impact on the sexual choices, including whether it's same sex or opposite sex. So my whole position is that thousands of years of Western civilization preferring male-female bonding leading to marriage and family is a good thing, and Anna feels that it's a bad thing. Is that totally fair? I'm
not saying that it's wrong for a man and woman to have a family.
No. I said preferred. That's the value system.
It's necessarily preferred. I think that people should be able to make their own choices.
All right. Okay. So one is as good as the other.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're saying that Western society has been wrong for preferring, for thousands of years, male-female marital bonding.
Sorry, what's wrong with that?
No.
Is that your question?
No, not at all. I'm just trying to make it clear for you, me, and my listeners. You are saying that the Western civilizational preference for male-female marital bonding, that preference was wrong.
I only think it's wrong in that it limits other possibilities.
Why you think? Wait, why? All right, they're all equally good. So it is wrong to tell people. It's wrong to tell little girls to suggest in any way that subtly, non-subtly, that they should grow up and marry a boy.
Yeah, I don't think that you should force anyone.
Wait. You're putting in verbs that I'm not using. You said force. I just said suggest even. Teach.
But I mean, how would you just gently tell someone?
Oh, say, well, are you going to marry Jerry or Tony or Billy instead of are you going to marry Jerry or Barbara?
But I think that when you say that you're not forcing someone, I think that the coercion is on sort of a deeper level.
Okay, fine. So you feel it's forced to suggest to a girl only male options for marriage.
Right.
Okay, we'll be back in a moment. Hi, everybody. Dennis Prager here, and Anna Montrose is a 22-year-old student at McGill University and wrote an article for which reason we're having this dialogue. She was a rigid heterosexual prior to university and has, I guess, had her eyes opened and is no longer. Have you acted upon your new revelation of not being a rigid heterosexual?
What do you mean by acted on?
Well, had sexual contact with females.
Have I had sexual contact with females? I guess I have, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Have you had with a male?
I had a boyfriend for a year.
Did you is there any difference, or is it they're both equally meaningful to you?
Well, there's definitely a difference, but they're both meaningful. I mean,
Right. Okay. All right. Just curious if you acted on it, and how you reacted. I get my preference for and believe society ought to raise kids, since we both agree society does shape our sexuality. I get my value that it ought to shape it in the direction of male-female bonding and marriage from the Bible. I know that may sound very quaint to you, but I'm being open with you. Where do you get your value that we shouldn't teach any preference?
Where do I get that value from? I think that it's something that I've arrived at over time, observing the world, learning about things, forming my own opinions. And I do agree that I think everyone's values is, of course, influenced by where they grow up, the family they came from, their environment, their culture, everything. And I understand that your values come from sort of a Judeo-Christian framework, and I don't begrudge you for having those values.
Well, you do. No, let's be honest. Of course you do, because you think that value in particular is oppressive.
Well, okay. This is a distinction that I want to draw. I don't think it's a problem for anyone to have values such as heterosexuality is the only way of life. I think that the only problem arises when anyone tries to impose their values on other people. I mean, my values, I'm not trying to impose them on anyone. If you want to be heterosexual, go to it, have fun, enjoy. That's totally fine. I'm not going to tell anyone that they can't be heterosexual.
No, but you would like to impose a new definition of marriage.
A new definition of marriage?
Mm-hmm. I'm sure you're for same-sex marriage.
Well, of course.
Okay, so you're imposing your value.
Well, I mean, just because gay marriage is allowed doesn't mean that heterosexuality isn't allowed.
I understand, but
my value doesn't prevent anyone from doing.
Well, it does. I'll tell you what it does prevent, among other things. It does prevent two things. One, a fair number of people, we would both acknowledge, who would otherwise make love and bond with the opposite sex will not. We both acknowledge that, because that's purely that's a preference we shouldn't teach any longer, and it prevents a lot of children from having a mother and father.
Well, what about the 50% divorce rate that exists?
What about it? Wait. Why does the 50% divorce rate? Why does that prevent a child from having a mother and father? I was divorced, and my child continued to have his mother and father. He's now your age, and he's fine.
All right. Well, I mean, do you want to say that?
Wait. What does the divorce rate have to do? My question was, why would you want to make a system that prevents a child from having a mother and father from the outset? And then you said we have a high divorce rate, but it's a non sequitur.
You're right. It is a non sequitur. I was just
fair enough.
Drawing the comparison that just because we have heterosexual marriage doesn't mean that every child has an ideal upbringing with.
I never said ideal. I never said. You're right, but you're right. It's irrelevant, though. It's a total irrelevance. Your system prevents a child from the outset from having either a mother or a father, but
it allows them the possibility of having two mothers or two fathers.
That's correct.
Yes,
fine. And that's just as good.
Yes.
Okay. Now, you don't think, you say that you get your values from your experience, your life, your reading, and so on. You have not, you do nothing in your reading has suggested to you that the millennia-old preference for a child having a mother and father is a good one. It's an oppressive, bigoted preference, because there's.
It's not clear to me that it's necessarily better than the other.
I see. It's not clear to you. Do you believe? Let me ask you this, because this is what I think the whole thing really does come down to in some ways. Do you believe that men and women, forget now sexual orientation and behavior, just basically that men and women are essentially different, or is that also entirely culturally constructed?
Are they essentially different? I think that the differences are greatly exaggerated, and I
so they're not significant. They're not significant.
Well, I think culturally there are huge differences that people have internalized, but I think that.
But not. But there are no fixed significant differences.
I would say not. I mean, other than biological.
So you don't feel that a mother has something truly distinctive to give to a child that a father cannot, and that a father has something truly distinctive to give that a mother cannot?
No, I don't. I mean, I think that people can get their role models from whoever.
Well, I didn't say role model. You brought in the word role model. I just said that there is a unique contribution that a mother makes that fathers can't, and that fathers make that mothers can't.
No, I don't think that's the case.
Right. Okay. Good.
I think
You're
it's much more important that both parents love and support the child.
Right, but it doesn't matter.
Completely sufficient.
Right. Completely sufficient. So now we're coming near the end, and I do want to pose this challenge to you. Do you ever think that at 22, you're chucking the entire Western civilizational preference for a mother and father might be a little arrogant? And I don't mean, this is not meant insulting at all.
No, I don't think it is, because I think this idea of the entire civilizational preference is really something that's a bit of a myth. I mean, we have our histories, and we have written histories, but I don't think that we really know for sure that even that was the case. And I don't. You don't
know. Wait, you don't know that our civilization has preferred that men and women marry? I mean, that's the only definition of marriage we've had.
It has preferred.
Okay,
but we don't know that it was necessarily, the best system.
Right. So that's right. So you feel that this preference may in fact be in error, and you don't feel any way humbled by the fact that at 22 you're prepared to chuck all of Western.
Because I'm young, I can't have values?
No, I could. Well, I'll tell you what I'm saying as soon as we return. All righty, everybody. Final segment here. Anna Montrose, 22-year-old student, McGill University. Anna, you said, can a 22-year-old have values? And, of course, a 22-year-old can have values. In fact, my life is devoted to trying to pass on certain values to 22-year-olds, and for that matter, 32, 42, 52, etc. So you can. My only question was, might humility suggest that at 22, before chucking the basic social institution and preference of Western civilization, you think, well, maybe they were right, and the fact that I feel otherwise, I might be wrong. That's all I was suggesting.
No, I don't think that's fair, because I think that civilization, part of it is change and part of it is progress, and I think that the strength of civilization is being able to look at our past and our history and our present, and to think about, what are we doing that's good, what are we doing that's bad, and how can we change it, and how can we make it better.
At this point, do you hope to marry one day?
I haven't really decided on that.
So you don't even have that hope. You haven't decided on the hope. I asked if you hoped, not if you decided.
Do I hope to marry? I mean, I don't know if I'm going to marry or not.
I didn't ask if you knew. I'm asking if you're hoping.
I'm not sure what the difference is.
Well, I hope to win the lottery, but I don't expect to. There's a very big difference. So I'm asking if you hope to.
Well, hope would imply that would be the ideal. And I'm not going to say that getting married is the ideal, but I'm also not against marriage. I mean, you can get a lot of insurance benefits by getting married. So I can definitely see a case where I would get married.
For insurance benefits?
Yeah.
That's why you would get married.
And tax benefits as well.
Tax benefits.
It's very convenient. But I don't.
Okay, listen. Two quick things. First, I know you mentioned to my producer that you might want me on a show or something, and I would be more than happy to reciprocate. Please know that. The other is, do I have your permission to publish this interview?
To publish it where?
Anywhere. And I do a syndicated column, and I might use the interview. I would never change your words, needless to say.
Well, you can publish it, but I hope you won't take anything out of context.
No.
I know we've talked about a number of different things, such as sexuality being fixed and things like that I think you sort of misinterpreted me on.
You do?
You...
Well, wasn't that as clear as a bell that we both do agree that society is primary in determining whom we'll have sex with?
Right. No, we do agree on that.
Okay.
But I remember when you said before that you were sort of disagreeing with gay rights activists who would say that sexuality.
Yeah, they say it's fixed from the beginning. You feel it's fixed once society determines it.
I guess so. It's fixed once you're experiencing it.
That's right. Fair enough. Listen, has this been painful?
Only slightly.
Okay, well, it's very honest. Thank you for your time.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, that was Anna Montrose. I'm Dennis Prager. And this was an hour for the ages. Don't go away.